Hi, welcome to DADvocate, all about working for the good of others. I'm Jessie Walton Doyle. My pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Dad, Greg.
We hope to unite folks from different belief structures and cultures, something we know a bit about as I'm pagan.
And I'm Catholic, so we invite you to come along as we explore our shared focus on the value of solidarity, of being one human family in all our differences, and the belief that each of us has the ability to be a unique gift to the world around us.
So, the views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
And today we have part 2
of the Terry and Kirsti interview from the road in Italy. Joining us, we've got an extra special guest, my mom, Mary.
She was on the trip. When I met Kirsti and Terry, for those who didn't hear the last episode, I met them at the Outreach Catholic Ministry Conference in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is a road trip we're taking with Always God's Children, which is an LGBTQ ministry. We're doing a pilgrimage in Italy. So they came along, and they're the music directors for the Wild Goose Festival in North Carolina, which is a progressive Christian music festival. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So just like Always God's Children, it's creating a safe space for people, especially Christians and people of faith who have felt marginalized.
Yeah, and I was surprised as someone who's not a Christian anymore, the description of the festival and how much I felt like I would fit in with the folks there and the different panels that they run. So maybe I'll have to join in next time.
You should. And it's the same for Mom too, right? Because Mom is not necessarily identifying
as a Catholic these days.
Or a particular religion for that matter.
She gets into her experience in the interview with Terry and Kirsti.
Here's part 2 with Terry Gonda, Kirsti Reeve,
and Mary Walton.
Our guests today are Terry Gonda and Kirsti Reeve. And so it's so great to have you both on the show with us today.
Wonderful to be here.
We're so glad to be here with you, Greg and Jessie.
One of the coolest things for me was you introducing me to the Wild Goose Festival. And I'm going to bring my wife, Mary, into this conversation. So say hi, Mary.
Hi, I am the not-so-silent partner of all of Greg's adventures.
So tell us about the Wild Goose Festival.
Well, it is one of the largest gatherings of people who have, I hate to use labels, but for shorthand, progressive Christian ideas. It is at the intersection of spirituality, justice, music, and art. And it's patterned after
a UK festival called Greenbelt, which has been running for over 60 years now. And what they would find was that Greenbelt would bring in a lot of speakers over from America, and they would look at each other and say, why don't we have anything like this? So I'd been connected with Greenbelt for a while before I moved here. And so I knew that something was being plotted and in the works. And so when Wild Goose had its first festival at Chicory Hills in North Carolina in 2011, I went and camped and showed up. And then a couple of festivals later, I was like, Terry, you've got to come.
Yeah, so we camped at the third one, and I had accompanied Kirsti to Greenbelt. In fact, I performed and we'd worked at Greenbelt. So we petitioned to sing at the one in 2014, and they asked us back in 2015, which was extraordinary. And then we said, oh, by the way, we think we can get the Indigo Girls and Dar Williams to come at this festival because they would love this. And the producer said, really? So by 2016, we were curating the music and helping select the musicians, both people who petitioned and bringing invitees in, and then I was convinced to be on the board, and then Kirsti was convinced to be the stage manager. So here we are. These many years later, very, very passionate about supporting the Wild Goose and how it helps people who are deconstructing a very fundamentalist faith or maybe a very toxic faith. It was really the U.S. version was born on the backs of people who felt crushed about how the church was treating LGBTQ children of God.
Mm-hmm.
And the first CEO producer was a gay man. And it just has that DNA in it. And then, of course, we went into racial justice just as fervently, but its DNA is that. And so we just watch people come to the Goose and just start sobbing and with healing. And that's why we put up with the pain of running a nonprofit each year, now year round. But it is so important to so many people.
Yeah, one of the unique things is you just talked about petition to being part of the Goose. You're not called performers.
No, everyone is a co-creator.
Yeah.
Because the festival is created by anyone who comes to participate. It's not the kind of event where you show up and give your talk or you show up and do your set and then leave. We actively reach out to people who will be part of the community of the Goose and of the festival.
Yeah. In addition to having some main stage performers, you have this great grassroots venue called the Combo.
Yeah, Combo Hall, where it's like conversation table. So 10 tables with 10 seats at each table. And it's just like show up and have a conversation. Someone is there who says, this is what I want to do. But you're not like preaching at people or telling them. It's all about engaging and having conversations and learning from and listening to everyone else.
Right. And so folks have had common experiences, or maybe you're interested in that topic. I went to one on the Enneagram. That was really cool because I was just starting to dive into that.
Oh, there's the range of things.
I just learned my Enneagram, actually. I'm a 6.
Wow.
You're ahead of me. I haven't done it yet.
I'm a 2. I'll help her do it.
Yeah. So I'm an
inside joke for Enneagrams, apparently.
So my numbers were tied, and it was really kind of hard to figure out, which is...
You can't figure out if he's doing things or doing them to tell people about them.
Yeah, exactly. Because 7's the enthusiast. We love to just get snapshots and tastes of interesting things. And then there's the achiever. And so anyway. So that would be a whole nother conversation there.
I had a lot of 7 in my score as well. We're the creatives.
So, but that's the kind of thing at the Goose. It's like whatever anybody wants to talk about. And if you aren't hearing something, then put a session proposal in. And the quality of people that we get, I'm blown away. I mean, I spend most of my time in the music, our common stage. But people who, they may not be names or anyone you've ever heard of, but the songwriting, the vocal performances, just the ideas and the things that people are engaging through music, that they just find out about the Goose and they're like, yeah, we want to be part of it. So they self-submit and we make magic happen.
So people get confused. Oh, you mean it's like, Bonnaroo or, whatever, like it's a music festival. It does have music, but it is at the intersection of all 4 of those things because we have some of the most important thought leaders on social justice and spirituality that you'll come across. In fact, one of the young theologians that came in kept calling it a conference while he was there. Because to him, he was going from speaker to speaker and he was giving a talk and it was a conference. It was an outdoor conference where you just were intense. And you can have, anywhere like 500 or 1,000 different experiences at Wild Goose. You could go to these talks and just stay at the main, speaker's tent all weekend. Or the music tent all weekend, or out in relating arts and foo-foo and hang out, or just at your tent with your people all weekend.
That is correct. You may just stay at the cuddle party and at the woo-woo Reiki
yes.
all weekend.
So you'll find your tribe, and that's the point. Is we create a village from Thursday night to Sunday afternoon, and people come and find their space, and there's 12 different tents and multiples of different experiences.
And the most common thing I hear from people is, I didn't think I fit in anywhere, but I found my people here at the Goose. This feels like home.
That is the point of the Goose, and that's why it's wild. So let's talk about, it's funny because people think, oh, it's a religious festival, and some people would laugh their behind off because they think it's anything but religious in its own way, because they think religious is, this fundamentals deconstructing. But the Celtic symbol for the Holy Spirit is this wild goose, that you can't tame the Holy Spirit. And that's a bit of the point, is you can have almost anything and everything. A lot of it is people questioning. They think they're atheists because they don't believe what they believe what they grew up with. And then they find out there's a bunch of other people who feel that way, who call themselves Christians, and they're like, what?
That's kind of like my journey. I went away from Christianity and I was like, I guess I'm an atheist, and then ultimately landed on paganism, which I'm sure we'll get into in another episode. But it's like, no, like I've had a lot of spiritual experiences and I want to name them, and claim them.
And that would fit right into the Goose, because there are people just all over the place who, one year will come and claim they're something else, and the next, it's people it's seekers, people on the journey. So it's DNA is a Christianity that has moved away from a fundamentalist, very tidy male anthropomorphic God where you've got to be this way or you're going to hell. So it's moved completely away from that into one where the questions are celebrated. And so when people say I'm an atheist, I say, well, what God don't you believe in? I said, well, I don't believe in that God either. So what does that make me? And I'm still Catholic. And so it's the questions and the messiness, the wild goose that is celebrated at this festival.
And it probably also helps that now at Labor Day, but it's in a field in North Carolina in the heat, and everybody is just sweaty and dirty and moneyed together. So it's hard to have things in neat boxes and when you're camping.
Right.
So you may have touched on it a bit, but how did the Wild Goose get its name?
I'm not sure the group that got together. Are you familiar?
Yeah, it was Gareth Higgins, who was one of the key facilitators and founders, is Irish. And so the Celtic metaphor of the Holy Spirit as the wild goose is.
Like as opposed to the dove?
Yeah.
Yeah, forget the dove. This peaceful little quiet dove. It's that, it's a wild, honking, crazy wild goose that you cannot tame. You can't put in a box and say it's all tidy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. So we talk about whether someone's goosey or not. So that means open-hearted and willing to question and maybe a little out there. But it really, all four elements show up at the Goose very much so. So we have wonderful artists, and we had a couple of artists who came as musicians through our door, who came in and just fit in so beautifully that they're now co-creating the artistic tent, and there's a beautiful crossover with music and art. So it's hard not to fit in somewhere to a degree. I mean, we try and embrace. There's always growing edges, we like to say, so we try and work with race. We're still a very white festival, but we try and struggle with the hard questions. And right now we still are in the container mostly of the festival, but we have so much content online that we're trying to talk about how do we increase the footprint in just different ways. And one of it is that content. And, I was able to be on stage at the end and commission everyone like, you're the Wild Goose. It's not a site in a farm in North Carolina. Go use this content and create watch parties and CEUs. One of the attendees said, I run an education program. We could use this content. So there's a lot of possibilities of other kinds of avenues of expanding on besides coming and a festival.
And you have some really dynamic speakers. I mean, you've had AJ Levine,
yes,
who is one of the front-running scholars on the New Testament, Jewish, so breaks it open from the Jewish tradition and adds so much insight. We've also had Stan Mitchell,
William Barber. I mean, talk about the chief, social justice voice right now. Jackie Lewis.
Jackie Lewis from Middle Church. We had the Reverend Dr. Starlette Thomas closed out our service this year, and she was so dynamic, just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Part of our DNA started, the first festival was Richard Rohr, so the Center for Action and Contemplation. And
Brian McLaren.
Right. Brian McLaren is now well entrenched with that, and he was on the board up until recently. I got to replace him as vice chair. And so Brian is part of the DNA of the Goose, and on and on and on. We don't mean to leave anyone out. This year we had Steve Chalk from England, his first time here, but Stan introduced him and said, when I started coming into my journey of breaking all this open and this new horizon, I started talking to my heroes and saying, who inspired you? And person after person mentioned Steve Chalk. And so Steve Chalk came this year, and boy, look for our site when his talks come in, because it will blow your mind.
Cool. You mentioned folks who have a lot of questions and maybe are unsure. I know, Mary, for you and I'm still Catholic, but it's brought you on a different path. And so kind of finding, I guess, common spiritual things that we can share is hard to find. But I think the Goose has kind of filled part of that niche, for both of us. Can you speak on that?
I think what I needed when I first came to the Goose was a non-threatening embrace. Coming from a place where my faith meant everything, shaped my whole life, shaped the way I lived, shaped the way I raised my children, shaped the clothing I wore. And then through our children coming out, ended up being the recipient of such hurt that I know very well I might be in a baby with the bathwater situation right at the moment and be throwing everything out to preserve my own self. But still, I long for community and I long for acceptance. And when I went to the Goose the first time with Greg, which it took him a couple of years to persuade me to come with. And when I went to the first time, I said, I don't know, this might be a little too churchy for me. We'll see. It'll be fun. Okay. And I found people that were willing to sit with me and were willing to hear the stories and were willing to say, I'm so sorry you were hurt like that. And I found a much fuller embrace than I had previously found, or maybe I should say had found since launching ourselves onto what we shall call the Rainbow Road.
And for me as well, you have to love, a community where our standard communion song on Sunday is the Highwaywoman's Crowded Table.
Right.
And we open with, come together. Well, Greg, because we sort of invited you in, and now these last 2 years you've been leading the house band for us.
That is the Goose way. Hey, you want to sing? Hey, you can have some ideas. Hey, you want to run music? Hey, you want to be in the house band? Hey, you want to run the house band?
Yeah. And for me as a Catholic who's drawn to Ignatian spirituality, it's been really fun to explore that because it's about finding God in all things. And so it's been really beautiful to, I guess, explore the whole breadth of music,
Finding God in Brandy Carlisle. I'm all about that.
That's right.
Well, she would agree. She would absolutely agree.
That's right.
And that's it. And Mary, you said it. So Kirsti has made sure from the beginning that we made sure we've got a Catholic Mass on Sunday. So we have that with our people out, sometimes in the mud or the dust. But, over in Related Arts, you're doing yoga and, the witches are over in that tent and, the Buddhist, hippie is over in the other tent.
And someone's offering tarot readings in the marketplace along with putting sparkles in your hair.
Yeah, I'll be in that tent.
That's what you're right. So it's in spiritual direction.
And we all cuddle on Saturday night.
And you've got the Lutheran tent and the Episcopal tent and you've got the Glenmary missionaries, having coffee. They're all there.
And you've got the midnight moonshine mass on Saturday night.
So everybody coming together and laughing and singing and saying, you know what, we can all be on this journey together with our questions in the messiness of the Wild Goose. But we all believe in a certain sense of justice and love. And there is a common denominator that we can all embrace. And that's the festival.
Yeah. The other thing that always I enjoy about it is saying, oh yeah, you see that sort of person with the multiple piercings and purple hair and tattoos who's picking up garbage. Yeah, she's a pastor. And this person over there, everyone is like
the proverbial, you can't swing a dead cat without having someone pastor of someone. And that's it. So I know some people roll their eyes about universality and whatnot. But we have to admit from again, our roots are progressive Christianity. Our roots are Christianity and the radical gospel of love and mercy. And what are those core values that we can all get behind? So that is the Wild Goose Festival.
Yeah. Oh, and there's no backstage areas and no special wristbands. The big speakers, the closing artists. We don't have headliners. We have closing artists. I try and be really intentional about that. Get the same color wristband as everybody else. They hang out in the same food truck lines as everybody else. They, you'll see them queuing up for the porta potties and.
That's right. There is kind of a green room tent, but it's totally out in the open. So anybody could just kind of walk up and just say hi. And yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Barbara Brown Taylor over there getting a veggie thing over at the Sugar Shack.
Yeah.
When the year Amy Grant came, she and her manager rented a camper and they just camped on site for the whole festival. So
and walked around.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That was actually a moment, if I can say. So Kirsti can tell her nightmare story about Amy Grant when we had on a previous site where we had a sound ordinance stop, hard stop at like 10 o'clock.
Well, it was that and Amy Grant's band manager. So her band came in for the Saturday night and they did their set. And we were pretty much right up at the sound curfew, and the local police were they'd hang out at the entrance gates waiting to come and shut us down if we went 1 minute over with amplified sound. But more importantly, that Amy's tour manager was like, nope, I've got to get off, got to get on the road. This is the set, we're done. And everybody wanted, she hadn't played El Shaddai. Everybody was wanting like a second encore or a third encore we were at that point.
El Shaddai! El Shaddai!
They started this chant and I had to go up on this stage. There were probably 4,000 people at the Goose that year. And look out just into the blackness and having all of these people, all the lights in my eyes and say, I'm really sorry, but Amy will not be doing an encore here. And I got booed. so that is my nightmare, being booed by like 4,000 people for having to say that, sorry, Amy Grant couldn't come back. But then she walked over to the Beer and Hymns tent.
Now Beer and Hymns is something we took from the British festival.
Yeah, tell us about Beer and Hymns.
It's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah,
there's beer
I know.
And there's hymns. And
like Here Comes the Sun and
Rock Me Mama. It's closer to fine. But also a lot of your standard, for people especially who are raised in like the Methodist and Lutheran hymn singing tradition. It's another way of like reclaiming some of the songs that, you may be in your DNA and in your bones.
I mean, I'll Fly Away,
Yes.
I mean, those are... Yeah.
I feel that with like Wade in the Water as I went down to the river to pray.
Yep.
Sometimes I catch myself humming them and I'm like, oh, does this mean I'm a Christian again?
And that's exactly it, Jesse. That's exactly it. So there's a lot of hymns, of course, I'm a folky Catholic, so I know none of these songs. But for so many people, these songs are important and they are reclaimed. And so there you are with your beer or if you're, non-alcoholic beverage and they're singing away. So
the tagline is drink responsibly, sing recklessly.
Yeah.
Just led by a small a cappella group from the front. Nothing's amplified. They call out the numbers in the song sheet. And
guitars, ukuleles, djembes.
Yeah.
and a tent is heaving. I mean, it's everybody rushes to that and they're absolutely heaving of singing the songs in unison and joyously and harmonies.
Yeah, not just unison, it's 4-part harmonies.
Right.
It's amazing, yeah.
So Kirsti's nightmare is going on. It goes dark, which the tradition is then we switch right over, like the main stage goes dark and we go right over to Beer and Hymns.
So Amy Grant makes her way over to Beer and Hymns and again, she walks into Beer and Hymns tent and that whole El Shaddai chant. So she borrows someone's guitar and you can find the video on YouTube if you look up, if you search on YouTube for Amy Grant's Wild Goose Beer and Hymns, and she sings it with
like 500 people in the round,
right,
and it moves her tremendously.
Wow!
And again, for so many people, it was just this healing moment of something that maybe that had been associated with religious trauma.
Amy Grant was their person during one part of their life, and they thought they had to let go. And here she was. I'm going to start crying right in the middle of this tent at Wild Goose. And there she was, one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, we have a communion service, and it was Amy's turn to cry because she was able to participate and give out communion. And so she's crying, giving communion. We're crying, taking communion from her. It was beautiful.
Yeah, they themed the communion service around Amy's song "Better Than a Hallelujah." And so the whole liturgy was woven around that song. So she sang it. And then she said after she's not allowed to distribute communion at her church.
Wow. Yeah.
So for her to be sharing the bread. And
Which
giving
is
it to people.
also co-written with Sarah Hart.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So even Amy had a Wild Goose experience for this exact same reason.
Yeah.
So that in a nutshell is the Wild Goose.
So Labor Day weekend, 2026 in Harmony, North Carolina.
All right.
See you there.
Sounds
We
good.
should say logistic wise, you can camp in a tent, you can camp in an RV, and there are hotels 20 minutes away. And glamping, right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sold. Maybe I'll join you guys next year.
Super. We knew we could convince you.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, this is Terry Gonda and Kirsti Reeve, and you've been listening to DADvocate with Greg Walton.
And Jesse Walton.
And Mary Walton.
Okay. And so thanks so much for being guests on the show.
Our pleasure.
Always good to spend time with you guys.
DADvocate is produced by the two of us.
Our theme song is written by me.
And produced by Britt Edwards with tasty guitar licks by Delana Nova Scott.
Thanks for listening.
And let somebody in your life know you love them.
Love you.
Love you, Dad.